guys, this is LEGO Matic 9, and today I'm going to be continuing my LEGO customizing tutorial series that I started back like a year ago or so. So this is on a very highly requested topic, and that is the Luke Skywalker lightsaber design from Return of the Jedi, and I'm assuming The Force Awakens. I don't really know if he has this in The Force Awakens, it's only an assumption, but he definitely has it at the end of Return of the Jedi. Like, they're arguing about that on my Force Awakens Part 2 video, but if you look right here, Ewok Village Celebration, Luke walks in, it's dangling from his belt. It's right there. There's no denying that he has it at the end of Return of the Jedi, so stop saying that. So, unless, like, Kylo Ren took it or he lost it between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens, then I'm still assuming that he has it. So, with that cleared up, I just want to say if you use this tutorial to make a Luke Skywalker lightsaber for your figure or anything, and you post a video or photo or anything like that, I'd really appreciate it if you guys give me credit for that, considering this is my design and you're using my tutorial to help you make this. So, with that out of the way, let's get into the materials you might need for this project. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started with this. So here are all of the materials you'll need for this project. So starting off with the LEGO parts, you'll only need 3 of them. So those are the, let me zoom in right here real quick. So you'll need 2 lightsaber hilts of the same color. So I prefer, you know, this metallic silver color that they've been using. And then you'll need a lightsaber blade. So those are the only LEGO parts you'll need for this project here. And then other tools you'll need some sort of tweezers. They don't have to be like super like pointy at the end, but those are preferred. You'll need an X-Acto knife, preferably one that's sharp and not that flimsy. So if you're a kid, you might want to have, you know, your parents help you with this. And then you'll need like some sort of sandpaper or sanding material or anything like that. So I'm using these like nail files. I think that's, I'm guessing that's what they are. And so this one's low grit because it's pretty rough, so that's easy to like shape stuff with. And then you have a much higher grit for like smoothing it out and stuff. So those are the 2 I use. And then you'll need at least like 5, maybe, you know, that's probably the max that you'll need, 5 toothpicks just for painting, because it's a lot easier to use toothpicks than anything else. You'll need some sort of super glue that can glue plastics together, so I got that at Ace Hardware. You'll need these 3 colors of paint. They don't have to be the same brand, but these are the ones that I use. So I have Folk Art Enamel Sterling Silver, Folk Art Metallic Gold, and then Apple Barrel Black. So all 3 of those can be, I think they can be bought at Walmart or Michael's. I know Walmart has Apple Barrel and this one, but I'm not sure if they have that gold. And then if you know, you don't have to use these if you don't have these, but you can use an X-Acto knife in place of these. But these are just some wire cutters. So those are just easy to like cut things with, because it's, you know, instead of like carving away with an X-Acto knife, you can just snip it. And then the other optional material is Procreate or green stuff. That's for sculpting the ignition switch on his lightsaber if you really want that, but I'm not going to include this with this tutorial. So let's go ahead and get started with this process. So this first step is pretty easy. All you have to do is just take one of your lightsaber hilts and the wire cutters if you have them. If not, then this part's going to be a little harder. So what you're just going to want to do is just take this one. You're just going to snip this, I guess this end of the hilt off. So you might want to like put your finger underneath here, make sure it's not like going to get cut by the blade, and just chop that off like that. So then you have that part there. So this is the part you're going to want to need, or you're going to be using later on. So make sure you keep this and don't lose this. So let's move on to the next step. So with this little part here, you want to get rid of any like excess plastic you have up at this top here, so you can use your X-Acto knife for that and just, you know, carve it off, or you can use like some low grit sandpaper to get most of that off. So I'm going to do that off camera because that's going to take a while. So give me one moment. Alright, much better. As you can see, that excess plastic has been cut off. So then the next step is to kind of hollow this out. So the way I did it is I just slip it over like that. Now you could use a drill if you really wanted to with a really small bit in there, and you could cut that part out, like that center part in that stud, and you could cut that out. But what I did is I just took like an X-Acto knife and I just kind of like stabbed it in there and pushed it all the way through. So it went all the way through, and I just kind of like made a really rough outline in that circle. So I'll show you what I mean here in a second. So what I ended up doing with this part is I just carved out this hole in it right here. So that was by, you know, poking through it and then kind of like carving out a circle in there, and that is just big enough to where I can take the lightsaber blade and I can plug it through there like that, and it'll stay in there nice and tight. So that's the thing you're wanting to achieve here, is to be able to get a lightsaber blade through there. Yeah, let's move on to the next part. Alright, so this next part is going to be using the other lightsaber blade. Now, as you can see here, you could have used like your first one, but I kind of messed it up here, and you kind of need the 2 rings. Like you can see, this one has the 2 rings right there, and this one I kind of like snipped over them like that, so I kind of messed that one up. So if you're watching this video before you did this entire thing, I would recommend like being as careful as possible when you're cutting this one off, but you know, you'll still end up using both of them. So what you want to do with this one, what you want to do with this one is you want to cut off this top part again, but make sure that you're really careful and do not cut off any of these rings right here. So you want to get as close as you can to this thing. You can even like cut into it if you need to, because you won't be using this like front part anymore. You're just going to be using the bottom part of the hilt up into that top ring. So make sure you're keeping these rings intact. So I'm going to do that off camera just so I can, you know, not mess it up. I'll be right back. Alright, so that's what we're wanting right here. So you can see that both of the rings are intact, and you have a little bit of plastic above that. So this one would probably be easier to use, like if you cut like that close to this part from the start, because then you'll have less plastic to shave down there. So that's just an easy way to do that. So what you want to do now is that's probably not going to be a complete straight surface. It's probably going to be angled a little bit if you're using you know, an X-Acto knife or wire cutters or anything like that. So what I would do is I would sand down any excess plastic you have, so it's all flush with that top ring. So I'm going to use the higher grit, or this is the lower grit sandpaper or file or whatever you have first, and then move on to the more, I guess, the finer sandpaper or file, whatever you want to call it, to like smooth that down so it's all straight. Alright, so here is the version that was all sanded down and stuff. So that's what you want to get it at, so it's nice and straight right there. Now we're going to be using the other hilt, and the reason for that is because on this right here, you can see that there's that little gold part in between that ring, and then the top part of it there. So we're going to be using this, and we're going to be cutting some of this off and gluing it on here, just so you get that nice little gap right there. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a little bit off and show you guys like how much you might need. So this part ended up being extremely small, so you can just see how small it is based off of just these parts here. You just need basically just one side to be really flat, so you're able to glue it onto this other flat side, and then you can probably sand it and shape it from there if you have, you know, strong enough glue. So the next step is just going to be taking this part and taking the flat end and gluing it right there, and making sure that it is straight on there, so it's not like crooked or anything. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So now I got that part glued on there. All I did is just put a little bit of glue on this part and then put the other part on using tweezers, and then just applied some pressure. So let that dry for a little bit, and then you're going to sand this edge. Yours might already be flat, but you can see mine is curved like that. So you're going to want to just take your sandpaper and just sand that down a little bit so it's nice and flat. It doesn't have to be completely flat, because what you're doing, you're going to be taking this part right here, and you're going to be like sliding it over like that. So you're just going on like a flat surface, so when you put the blade in, it's going to have, you know, just a lot of area just to be plugged in, so it's not going to be just barely in there. So go ahead and you know, file that down, sand that down a little bit so it's nice and flat. So now we have this part nice and sanded down. So now we're going to be gluing on this piece right here. So to do that, you'll just want to take some glue, just like maybe dab it on one of your toothpicks, and just kind of like make a ring around this part right here. Don't make it go all the way down, and don't put it on the top either. So just put it around this top ring, because this part will, you know, stay on here if you if I can get it on there you go. So you can put it on like that, but if you put glue there, it'll just keep it secure. So you're going to make a gap, you know, about that big, pretty similar to the size of the gap in between these two rings here. So just make it somewhere like that, and just make it so you have enough room in here to put a blade and have it in there securely. So I'm going to head and glue these parts together. So this is what it should look like with that piece glued on there. As you can see, that gap is pretty much the same size as the other one. you want to make sure that when you glue it on there, that you have enough space to be able to take like a lightsaber blade and put it in there without it like falling out or anything, but also you should be able to pull it out without breaking the thing off. So the next steps are pretty simple. These are the last ones. So this is just the painting stage, so you'll need your black and your gold for this. So you can just take your toothpicks, let me just grab one real quick. You can just take one, like dab it in some paint, and then just paint in those gaps right there. So this gap, this one right here, that's the one that will be painted with the black paint, and then this one will be painted in the gold paint. So I'm going to go ahead and paint those so you guys can see it. So it's a pretty simple process. So after that black and that gold paint dry, what I would do is I would sand down this top part of the lightsaber here, because Luke's lightsaber is kind of thin at the top. So I would just sand this down just a little bit. Doesn't have to be a lot, but just a little thinner than what this is here. So use your various assortments of sandpaper or files or whatever and sand that away real quick. So I just sanded it down just a really small amount just to make it look a little thinner. And so now you're going to have this kind of like off color up at the top, and that's what you're going to use the silver paint for. So just paint the top of this silver, and then we'll go ahead and finish off this video. So after you paint that silver on there, you are pretty much done. This is where you'd add on that ignition switch if you choose to do so. So just sculpt that on there and paint it silver and gold. So that's an optional stage, but you don't really have to do it. I'm not really going to cover it in this video. So the final step would be just to take your lightsaber blade and just put it in there like that. So there you guys go. That's how you make the Luke Skywalker lightsaber that he used in Return of the Jedi and maybe in Force Awakens. I don't know. So if you guys would, please leave me suggestions in the comments below telling me which other things you'd like to see tutorials on. I've been getting a lot of requests for the extended legs. Then also, if you do use this tutorial and post a video with this lightsaber in it or a picture or something like that, please give me credit since I made this tutorial for you guys. So that is pretty much it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to check out my social media accounts. All will be linked to in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys later.